everyone, welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we're going to be making this beanie as part of our 100 beanie challenge. For this project, I'm going to be using two different strands of size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn. And we are going to crochet these two strands like they are one. So if you have a chunky yarn, then you don't need to have two strands. And if you only have one skein of yarn, but you want it to be a solid color, then go ahead and just divide your skein in half and use the two halves to make this. And we're also going to be using a size K or 10.5 crochet hook. And if you haven't already, then please check out the precursor to this video, and that is my how to crochet a beanie brim. And I will link to that video in the description. And so go ahead and follow the instructions for how to make a beanie brim. And what I did for this brim is I just crocheted both strands of yarn together like they are one. And I made a brim that is 7 stitches deep and roughly 16 inches wide. And the only thing to note is just go ahead and end on the same side as your starting tail. So if you folded this on top of itself like this, just make sure your starting tail and your crochet hook are on the same side here. And that's just so that you don't have to deal with a tail at the edge of your brim. So once you have your brim, then I like to go ahead and just section it off into 4 equal parts. And once you've sectioned off your beanie into 4 equal parts, and I'm just using scrap yarn to do that, but you could also use a stitch marker. And we're going to work this pattern like a square. So what you're going to want to do is chain 3. So from here, we're going to skip this stitch that we want to place our puff stitch in, and we're going to dive right into the next stitch with a double crochet. And so we're going to place our puff stitch in this skipped stitch here. So go ahead and yarn over, and then insert your crochet hook in that stitch, then yarn over and pull through. And we're going to yarn over 3 more times for a total of 4 yarn overs. So that's 2, 3, and 4. And from here, we're just going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on our crochet hook. And then we're going to chain 1. So basically, I'm going to be crocheting into each of my ridges, which I understand this count will be a little bit different for everybody. So when I get to the end of the row, I will tell you how many puff stitches I ended up with. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place a double crochet in this next ridge, and then I'm going to place a puff stitch in that skipped stitch here. And I'm just going to be working along the ridges here, so not in these loops in between them. So when I got to the end of my row, I had 21 puff stitches. So I just went ahead and ended my row with a double crochet stitch. And it seems like I missed a step when I was recording this first row down here, and that was to show you how to transition into your second row. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that right now, even though we're 7 rows up, because the process is going to be the same no matter what. So after you've placed your last double crochet here, go ahead and chain 3. And then you're going to turn your work. So from here, what we're going to do is we are going to place a double crochet right here in between our first and second puff stitch. Once you have your double crochet in place, then you're going to want to place a puff stitch between your double crochet and this first puff stitch here. And then from here, you're going to place a double crochet between this second and third puff stitch, and then place your puff stitch right here in between your first and your second puff stitch. So go ahead and follow that pattern going all the way down your row. And then all you're going to want to do is place a double crochet right here in between your previous row's chain 3 and this puff stitch here. And you should have already placed a double crochet right there to create this last puff stitch. So you're just going to add a second double crochet there. And then from here, we're going to chain 3, and we're just going to repeat that process over and over and over again to build the body of our beanie like this. So I went ahead and placed 9 rows following that puff stitch pattern, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to join these 2 edges together here. So what we're going to do is we're going to join these 2 edges together with slip stitches, and we're going to use these chain 3s and double crochets on the side to join them. So insert your crochet hook between your puff stitch and your chain 3 or your double crochet on both sides. Then yarn over and pull through for a slip stitch. Then repeat that going all the way down your row until you get to your slip stitches that made your brim. And once you've made it down to your brim, then all you're going to do is just insert your crochet hook up underneath the full stitch on both sides, then yarn over and pull through for a slip stitch. And you're just going to repeat this process for every stitch in your row. And when you get to the end of your row, you're just going to cut and tie off your yarn. And I recommend hiding your tails in this ridge here. And next, you're going to want to cut a strand of yarn that is roughly 2 feet in length. And you're just going to simply weave this along the top edge of your beanie here. And I recommend doing it about every puff stitch or 2. And once you're done weaving this, then grab both ends of your strand of yarn and pull them really nice and tight. And you're just going to tie these 2 ends together to cinch this hole really tightly. And then from here, turn it inside out. And in the description, I will link to my DIY pom-pom maker. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were making this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.